There are no future. Ginny Clarke is a talent optimization consultant, leadership coach, and career management expert. She's the founder of Talent Optimization Partners, a consulting firm providing services for organizations seeking to optimally leverage our global workforce and align organizational culture with business strategies. She is the author of the book Career Mapping, Charting Your Course in the New World of Work, released August 2011. Ginny earned her BA in French and Linguistics from the University of California at Davis, and her MBA from Northwestern University's Kellogg School. She is chair of the Chicago Sinfonietta, the nation's most diverse orchestra, and a member of the Economic Club of Chicago. She is the mother of a teenage son and lives in downtown Chicago. Please welcome Ginny.
Gotta adjust this. I'm 6'1", and we're in 3-inch heels today. I have some nerve, right? Thank you so much for having me. I want to heed some of what Amy said and what some of the other wonderful women have been saying. I'm switching it up a little bit for myself. I give PowerPoint presentations probably 5 times a week, and I figured I'd take Sunday off if that's okay with you. Okay? So I'm just going to talk to you from the heart, and I'm going to get to the point of my book, which is one of the themes I want to offer in terms of sort of constructive takeaways. But I thought I would just kind of start and share my story. I think it's interesting. I've been told it's interesting. I grew up in Southern California. I wanted to be a veterinarian more than anything in the world until at least I got to be in college. So I went to the University of California at Davis, which has one of the only vet schools in the Western states, and I set out in animal science, and I got there, and there were all these kids that had been in Future Farmers of America and had these Lee jeans on, and I looked up my manicure, and I thought, you know what, this is just not working for me. After I had looked at crimson sheep's wool and looked at sides of beef and was next to the pig barns and the cow barns, so I changed my major in my freshman year to French and linguistics because I had always loved French, which set me up to do who knows what at the time. My dad was a prison warden. My mother was a physical therapist, and my dad said, as I was approaching graduation, Ginny, you're not clear about what you want to do. I think you should go to law school. And something told me that was just not right. You know, we have really good instincts even when we're young and confused. And he said, well, why don't you take a job at one of the institutions? And I thought, well, do I have to? He kind of said, yeah. And my dad was a formidable, kind man. I take after him, actually. So I worked at the California Youth Authority with guys. Now, I'm not going to go into all the stories of how disastrous that was, but it made me running and screaming, not to law school, but to business school. But before I went there, I did work as a college recruiter because I'd worked on the campus back where I'd gone to school. So being a college recruiter was great. I left California for cold, windy Chicago in, can I tell you, it's been 30 years, so in 1982. I got here and I bought, this is out of nowhere, this just came to me because I thought it was hilarious. I felt like such an idiot. When I saw my first flurry, I'd never been in snow, didn't know what a flurry was, and when I saw it, I ran and got my down coat. Well, I was burning up because you don't need one. In any event, graduate school was wonderful. I was asked to be on the admissions committee as a student and worked in the admissions office. And then I graduated and they offered me a job in the admissions office again. And I said, no, I've spent all this money on a business degree. I'm going to go into business, damn it. And so I went into banking at what is now called Chase. It was then called First Chicago. For those of you, I know Northern, you certainly know that. And a couple of years in banking was interesting. Didn't love it. But here's what I started to do. I started thinking, I want to know something more about the commercial real estate business because I had touched on it, but I wasn't sure quite how to do it. So I started going around talking to people, asking for sort of informational interviews. I didn't know what you called it, but there was no internet back then, if you can imagine. It was that long ago. It's back when the first fax machine was coming out and it still had that curly yellow paper. I mean, this is like eons ago, right? So it was a completely different day. And so I went around and started asking people. I was networking. Who knew? It didn't have a name. Well, I ended up getting a job at what's now called Jones Lang LaSalle. It was then called LaSalle Partners, a commercial real estate services company. I was the third African American they'd ever hired. So I was a bit of a trailblazer there. It was a very difficult place to be. I loved it. 4 years and got to the place where I said, I can't go any farther here. It's pretty clear that they're not really paying very close attention to me, as loud as I might yell. I'm not a shrinking violet, as you might have gathered. And what I did do is I networked my way into the next job with Prudential Real Estate Investors and was there. So 10 years in the commercial real estate business. And then it hit me. Actually, what hit me was the death of my father. Catastrophic, not completely unexpected, but nevertheless devastating. It sent me into not a tailspin, but it was that defining moment that got me on a spiritual journey, to be honest with you. And part of that meant that I had to look at what I was doing with my professional life. Well, I had married. I was pregnant. My son was due, and I'm skipping years here. My son was due in 1996, so he's now 16. I decided that I wanted to explore executive search because I hearkened all the way back to being a college recruiter. I thought about all the things that I had done, and I kind of, in recent years, finally discerned that I'm a systems thinker. So the study of linguistics is what? It's a system. The study of accounting and finance that I did in business school, it's a system. When I eventually became an executive recruiter, recruiters at the level where I was operating are very methodical. It's a methodology, it's a system. And so all these things kind of came to me. I started the executive search from DHR International briefly in 1995, 96. My mother was diagnosed with lung cancer when I was 6 months pregnant. Fortunately, she survived to see the birth of her first grandchild, my son. Unfortunately, 6 months after her passing, when my son was 1, and which coincided with starting at Spencer Stewart, one of the global executive search firms, I asked my husband for a divorce. So my son was 1.5. My mom had just died. I just started a new career at a global executive search firm, and I wasn't sleeping a whole lot. But you know what I had? Something that it's palpable in this room. I had faith. I had clarity because I had made my choices. And so fast forward, I became a partner at Spencer Stewart. I founded the global diversity practice for them. And around 2003, I thought I would write a book because so many of the people that I encountered as a recruiter would come to me and say, help me, what am I supposed to do? And I thought, well, this isn't what I do. It's my job. I get paid to find people for organizations, not to find jobs for people. And I'm sure you all kind of know that by now, but people still kind of come to you looking for something, like what's out there, what should I do? And I thought, what if I wrote a book that would really explain it to people? It would be very gratifying to me to sort of offer that back. And so I did. Now it took 8 years, and I got a co-author to help me because I was traveling and raising a child on my own. But the book came out, and it's called Career Mapping, Charting Your Course in the New World of Work. I hope you consider getting it. And let me tell you a little bit about how I've approached it, because I'm very proud, and I think it's, as opposed to taking you through an hour-long presentation, which I often give on career mapping, I'm going to give you a quick overview. How am I doing? I got 5? Pretty good at measuring time here. So here's the thesis. It's a framework. Remember I told you I'm a systems thinker? So I took all of that stuff and I thought, now let's figure out what it is that people tend to do wrong when they're thinking about their careers. One of the first things that they don't do is give themselves credit for all the things they've done in the past. So the first part of the process is to plot everything that you've done, and to plot it in the context of industries, functions, roles, and the all-important, drum roll please, competencies. Competencies, not responsibilities, right? It's synonymous with skills, but I think competencies are more contextualized. They get very granular, very specific. And so one of the things I'm urging you to do is think about the competencies that you have. And I'm guessing for those of you that are in the corporate world, or even, I don't care if it's a not-for-profit, what it is, competencies are out there. There are leadership competencies, there are interpersonal competencies. The list is long, there are thousands of them. There's no holy grail, but I think the point is you need to understand what they are, because those are the things that allow you to move. Those are the things that allowed me to go from being a college recruiter to a banker to a commercial real estate executive to an executive recruiter to being an entrepreneur. So you need to harness and understand what your competencies are. The second part of my framework focuses on plotting aspirational possibilities. What might you want to do? It amazes me how many people come and say, I don't know what I want. And I'm thinking, I wish I could help you, but if you don't know, I don't know, darling. I mean, really, you've got to make some choices, and it doesn't mean just one. And this is where I created this little video. I have a YouTube channel, which I encourage you to check out. And it's called When I Was 10. And I found the report that I did called On Careers when I was 10 years old in the 5th grade. I found it. It had Snoopy on the cover and construction paper. And I thought, if everybody could harness that imagination of when you were 10 years old, that can actually give you some really great clues to how you might want to move forward. I don't care if you're 25 or 65. There are elements in your past, there are elements in your soul that you need to extract and begin to apply and create the work that suits you, that is your calling, that is your passion. So that's kind of what I wanted to offer you today. I've gone on to create this small firm, which is me right now, Talent Optimization Partners, and I do consulting work for organizations and I do some executive coaching. But at the heart of it all is a passion and a desire to share a framework, a usable thought pattern for you to integrate into your life regardless of where you are. I told you my son is 16. Trust me, he's been indoctrinated with this mindset already. So when he told me that he wanted to go into filmmaking, I said, tell you what, let's make a deal. Because I showed him the list of filmmaking being the number 5 of the worst college majors to get a job. So that was objective, right? Let's just slip that into his room. And then I said, here's something you might want to consider. Math, economics, business, engineering. Why don't you consider one of those 4 and then minor in film? Deal. So similarly, I'm encouraging you to couple those things that give you pleasure, that give you passion, with those things that can pay the mortgage and help you build wealth and create a nice lifestyle for your family. I'm going to stop and let you hear the rest of our wonderful panels. I thank you for listening to them.